Welcome back to Three Body Thinking. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was in the pocket the whole time, and that will be today's theme song for Three Body Thinking. It was as beautiful as it was eloquent. So you're welcome. Hope you enjoyed it. Today, I want to keep it fairly brief and short. I want to talk about the idea of bushwhacking versus paving one's own life. A lot of us have grown up in a society, at least if you're here in America or a lot of developed nations, where there are abundant opportunities ahead of you. So if you want to be an engineer, or you want to be in political office, or you want to do really anything, even as simple as having a family and being a stay-at-home parent, that there are resources there to help you get there. That can be college, that can be education, that can be church, that can be community, that there are so many opportunities out there for you to make whatever you want happen. If you're like me, you grew up in a society that greatly promoted the idea that you could be anything you want when you grow up. Because again, we're abundant in resources. So there's going to be enough opportunity for you to learn math, especially today. You don't even have to go down to the library to find books. You can simply go online, and with the rise of AI now and how connected the world is, you can more or less learn everything you need to know about physics and engineering without ever leaving your living room or your house. So the idea that you would ever not arrive at where you want to arrive at can feel kind of wild to people. It's also creating a society where you're to blame constantly. So if you did not become the engineer, you didn't put in enough work. Surely there were resources there that you should have taken advantage of. If you wanted to be the stay-at-home parent, but you're now 2 divorces in and 2 children in, and neither of them live with you full time, that's your fault for not being the correct spouse and all of that you should have read the books on parenting like they asked you to, or gotten a job first so you had some money to put away. I have no idea what the excuse is going to be. But the point that I'm trying to make here is we live in a world where there's so much you're connected to that the idea that you could ever fail is wild to people. We grossly put aside the fact that life is majority out of our control. This goes back to my original explanation of what three-body thinking is that you don't have all the data you need in order to predict the future. We don't have these crystal balls. And that even though we live in a system where the world is inherently predictable, that atom interacts with that atom, which causes an increase in thermal temperature, which means that next atom is going to be pushed away from it. And because it's pushed away from that interaction, it's more likely to end up here. And then you do that from starting with 2 atoms to 1,000,000 atoms, and all of a sudden to all the atoms in the human body, and then all of a sudden to all the atoms interacting on planet Earth. And then you can basically predict what the next minute of life is going to look like if you could have every single data point and know exactly how every single data point is interacting with every other single data point at that point in time. But that is an incalculable amount of information. You would need more power than is contained within the universe to be able to predict the future of the universe. So a little paradoxical there, which again goes back into three-body thinking, that even though it seems pretty simple that there's just 3 celestial beings, 3 stars all circling each other, all gravitating around each other, they're like, there's just 3 of them. It can't be that hard. If that one goes south, that one's probably going north. But if you try and tell me exactly where in space those 3 bodies are going to be 100 years from now, it's darn near impossible. We don't have the calculations to do it right now. We don't have the mathematical power to do that right now, because every little variance matters. And that goes true for life, where even though we have all these resources, and you have the school, and you have the money, and you have the friends, and you have the connections, where life takes you is so much out of your control, even down to you do become the CEO, you do become the engineer, but you're not happy there. It's called effective forecasting, and humans are terrible at it. What we think will make us happy is what we believe what would make us happy in this moment. So if I say I would be happy at 25 if I had a family and a lot of money, really what I'm kind of projecting into the future is that I think based on how I feel right now in this moment that will make me happy down the road. But you don't know who you're going to be when you're 25. And you also don't know what those things are going to look and feel like when you're 25. So you might actually arrive there and you have the money and the family that you think, but you're miserable for some reason. You love your kids, you love your wife. Your job's honestly not bad. The work-life balance, but you don't feel fulfilled. You don't feel this, you don't feel that. So the ability of humans to predict the future is laughably small. And yet, how we talk to kids and how we mentor people, whether they're kids or adults, is through the lens that they have the power to control that. You want to be an engineer at 25, you can be an engineer at 25. You want to be a CEO by 30, you can be a CEO at 30. It's going to take a lot of work, but you can make it happen. When in reality, we need to switch over to the bushwhacking, or what I call bushwhacking model, where if you're imagining yourself in an incredibly dense forest and you can't see more than a foot in front of you, all you see is the dense leaves and you hear the animals off in the distance and it's hot and sweaty and it's not comfortable at all and you really just love to get out of it. So you're whacking down one limb at a time and you're just shoving your way through this bush and you're peeling back limbs and you're peeling back bushes and you're walking into spider webs and you're walking into other animals' dung that you have to walk through, and just the mush and the grossness and the mosquitoes and the bugs and the animals that sound like they're right there in your head, but you don't know what they are. Could they bite you? Are they going to jump on you? I think I feel something crawling on my skin now. Like, that's life. Life is constant chaos. And I'm not saying that your life should feel like constant chaos, that you should always feel overwhelmed and out of control or anything like that. What I'm saying is that the ability to predict what you think is going to bring you happiness in the future, the ability to arrive there and be happy like you think you will, is more like bushwhacking. We imagine it as paving a road that, okay, I'm going to put this brick down and that's going to lead to that brick. And I'm going to pour this cement and then I'm going to go another 20 yards out. And I'm going to pour that cement. And I can already see the path. It's winding and it's probably going to curve there a little bit, which means that's college. I know it's going to take a little bit of a diversion because I'm also going to study abroad just to do some me time. And that's going to make me feel more worldly and it's going to help my vantage point and my perspective on life. And then I'll come back and get back on the track for internships. And we just try and pave all of it out. And we can see the road winding. We think we have a map. We know exactly where it's going to go. And instead, what life is just the bushwhacking where you're hacking the 1 foot in front of you and you're hoping that you're heading in the direction of college. But what you don't know is that, and I know this is going to sound heavy, but your mother's going to pass away or your father's going to pass away, or maybe you lose a sibling and all of a sudden college isn't that important to you anymore, or the college you thought you were going to go to changes and no longer are you willing to go to Harvard because it's across the country and instead you want to stay close home and just go to a JUCO because you need to help your parents pay bills or something like that. There's so much of life that's out. Or maybe, again, even with the loss of a loved one, like a family member, you still do go to that dream school of yours, but then you get there and it just doesn't feel the same. And you convince yourself to stay there because it was always your dream. And then you do those internships and you get out and you're checking all the boxes. You think you're paving that road. And then you get there and you realize that it's just a wall of trees in front of you again. And you have no idea what you're doing because that road that you paved and that destination that you ended up at isn't what you thought it would be. So instead, if we embrace this idea of bushwhacking, of having a general sense of direction of I think that's north and I know I want to head north, and we're just whacking through and kind of taking what the forest hands us as we go, it's going to be a lot healthier version of life for us. And again, that doesn't mean you drop your goals. Like I just said, you can have a North Star. You can say, I want to go that way, or I think I hear water in the distance and I know I need to get to a stream. And that stream in this metaphor might be college, or it might be having a family, and you just know you want to head in that direction, but you really don't have control over the path way to get there. And you might wind around some ponds and you might climb some mountains and you might end up in some brush that's so thick, every single whack or every single limb that you whack takes 100 whacks just to get through that one limb. And then there's another one and it takes another 100 whacks. I mean, that's me telling you that there are going to be parts of your life where even though you think you're headed in the right direction, it's going to feel like you are fighting for every inch of progress that you make. And it's not that paved road that you feel like you can walk down. So I think it'd be hugely beneficial if we taught the next generation of kids that life is supposed to be difficult. It's a lot out of their hands, and they can definitely find their way in the direction they want to head, and they can have. It's okay to say, I'm going to be a doctor and I want to be a veterinarian someday. It's okay for kids to dream big and for them to pour themselves into that. We just want to continue to challenge them to understand that there are going to be points of their life that aren't predictable, that are not paved. And it's okay to also arrive at some of these milestones and look, farther down the road and realize it's not a road, it's a bunch of bushes and they really don't know what's coming. And for that to be okay to then pivot and say, I don't think this is my North Star anymore. Instead, I think I want to go this direction and change. The more we can do that as a society, the more we can accept that people are not personally responsible for all of their fate, the healthier we are going to be as a society. The less we're going to point at the homeless person and just be like, that's just a bunch of mistakes sitting right in front of me. I mean, clearly a long list of mistakes and failures because I have all these opportunities, they have all these opportunities. How did they end up so bad? The more we can let go of the idea that every single human is the Lord, the God of their own fate, because they have all access to all these resources and they can pull themselves up by their bootstraps and they can pave that road for themselves and they can do all these things. The more we let go of that and we shift over into everybody's just bushwhacking kind of blindly and hoping that they're heading in the direction that they want to head, the more forgiving and the more empathetic we're going to be of people, and the more understanding we're going to be when they get stuck with a bunch of, twigs and everything wrapped around them and they really need help, so we got to come save them and chop them out of that mess, rather than just assuming like, I don't know, just get on a different road. Like, it's not that hard, just jump to a different road, you have more resources over there. As a society, we have greatly lost empathy for each other and that connection. And I think the more we can accept that every single human needs a lot of help and they're just doing their best, again, to keep their head above water, or not to switch metaphors, just simply to breathe in a dense forest surrounded by bugs and bushes and plants, and they're just hacking away trying to do their best. The more we can realize that everybody's just hacking away trying to do their best, the closer we're going to be, the more understanding we're going to have for each other. I really hope that as a society we can shift away from this idea that everybody's future can be paved for them and be predictable, because per the core of three-body thinking, even three stars circling each other is not predictable, let alone an entire human life. So let's start living with a little bit more empathy, a little bit more understanding for each other, and most importantly, a lot more understanding for ourselves and forgiveness of ourselves for not arriving at the paved road that we thought we were on and realizing that instead we're stuck in a thorny bush, and after that thorny bush is just more thorny bushes. And I think the more we can give ourselves some grace, realizing that we're just doing our best to hack through that forest, the better off we're all going to be. I hope that message resonated with some of you, and you'll first give yourself some more grace and leeway and understanding that you don't know where life's going to take you, and that's okay, but also that you do the same for somebody else.